All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time, we're looking at WordPress.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're going to kind of tackle this idea of disabling comments.
Oh.
Which, at first glance, you might think, why would you ever want to disable comments?
Yeah.
That seems counterintuitive, right?
Right.
But we're going to be focusing on how to manage Disqus comments, specifically on what are called custom post types.
Okay.
So we've got this really cool article from Now Technology Systems.
Mm-hmm.
They're an Australian web design company, and I'm sensing maybe a little bit of a surprising connection to the Australian business world as we get into this.
Yeah, it is interesting how something as technical as this can have those broader implications.
Exactly.
For sure.
So before we dive into the whole disabling comments thing, I think we need to back up a little bit and just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay.
When we talk about custom post types, what exactly are we talking about?
So I think most people are familiar with the idea of a standard WordPress post, like a blog post.
Right, your typical blog entry. Yeah.
Exactly. But custom post types allow you to go beyond that and structure your content in a way that really fits your needs.
Okay.
Like imagine if you're a photographer and you want to showcase your portfolio.
Right.
A custom post type would let you create a dedicated section just for that, with its own unique layout and features.
Oh, okay.
Or, if you're running an online store, you could have a custom post type for your products.
Okay.
And that would give you a way to manage all those products separately from, say, your blog posts or your About page.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically, you're creating these sort of specialized content categories within your site.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we've got that foundation. Let's circle back to the whole comment thing.
Okay.
If these custom post types are all about presenting your content in a really deliberate way, like a portfolio or a product showcase,
Right.
why would you even want comments enabled on them?
Well, you've hit on a really key point.
Oh.
Not all content needs comments. In fact, sometimes comments can actually detract from the user experience.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. If you're trying to browse a product catalog, a bunch of comments cluttering up the page can be a distraction.
That's true. It's like you're trying to focus on the product itself, and then you've got all this extra stuff to wade through.
Exactly.
And not to mention, all those comments, especially if a post gets a lot of them, could really slow down the website, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
Like page loading times and things like that.
Yeah, site speed is really important these days, and a ton of comments can bog things down.
Especially for businesses, right? Like if you've got a slow website, people are just going to click away.
Oh, yeah. No one wants to wait around for a page to load.
And I would imagine that's even more critical in Australia, right? With the whole emphasis on digital literacy and consumer rights.
Definitely. A slow or clunky website could actually hurt your business in the Australian market.
So it's not just a technical issue, it's a business issue.
It really is, yeah.
Interesting. So it seems like disabling comments on certain custom post types might actually be a strategic move.
For sure.
But how do you decide which post types to target? Like, is there a rule of thumb?
It really comes down to the purpose of each post type and how comments would affect the user experience. Like, let's say you have a custom post type for testimonials.
Okay.
You might want to keep comments enabled there to encourage engagement.
Because it adds to that social proof kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you have a custom post type for product listings,
Yeah.
probably best to disable comments
Mm.
so people can focus on the product information and the buying process.
It's funny how even something as seemingly simple as managing comments can become this whole strategic consideration.
It's true.
It's not just about turning a feature on or off. It's like you really have to think about the impact it has on your site and ultimately on your business goals.
Yeah, and especially in the Australian market where there are specific expectations and regulations to keep in mind.
So let's say we've identified some custom post types where disabling those Disqus comments makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This article from Now Technology Systems that we've got, it actually lays out a step-by-step process.
Okay.
But do we really need to go through each step? Like, can we assume our listeners are already pretty comfortable in their WordPress dashboards?
Yeah, I think we could skip the super basic stuff.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to bore people with stuff they already know.
Right.
So let's say we're already in our WordPress dashboard. We've got Disqus set up.
Mm-hmm.
What are those key decision points we need to consider when we're deciding which custom post types to disable comments on?
Well, the first thing you want to think about is the primary purpose of that post type.
Okay.
So is it meant to be more of a static presentation, like a portfolio where interaction isn't really the main goal?
Right, like you're just showcasing something, not necessarily looking for feedback or discussion.
Exactly. Or is it something that's designed to spark conversation, like a blog post or a forum thread?
Okay, so you really need to think about the user's journey and what you want them to focus on when they land on that particular section of your site.
Exactly.
Are there other factors we should be thinking about?
Oh, yeah. Definitely consider the potential for comment spam or irrelevant discussions. Some post types might be more susceptible to that than others.
Right, because if you have to spend all your time moderating those unwanted comments, it's kind of defeating the purpose of streamlining things in the first place.
Exactly. Disabling comments entirely can eliminate that headache.
So it's not just about the content itself, it's also about managing that potential for noise and distraction.
Yeah.
And that's especially relevant for Australian businesses, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
With all the emphasis on consumer protection and online regulations down there, a website that's bogged down with irrelevant comments could actually create some problems.
So it's not just annoying, it could actually lead to compliance issues.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. So this idea that a streamlined website is so important for Australian businesses, it makes me wonder, are there other elements we might be overlooking?
Mm.
Like, what else could we potentially disable to improve that user experience and maybe avoid those compliance headaches?
That's a great point. And it actually ties into a bigger principle that we've been talking about, this idea that less can be more.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So we're starting to see how this seemingly minor tweak, this whole disabling comments thing, can actually be part of a larger strategy
That's absolutely.
for optimizing a website, especially for businesses operating in that unique landscape of Australia.
It really is. It's about being intentional and making sure that every element on your site serves a clear purpose.
And that's where now Technology Systems, this Australian company behind the article we're discussing, they seem to really get that.
Yeah, they do.
Like, they seem to have this deep understanding of how to tailor websites to meet those specific needs and expectations of the Australian market.
It's pretty impressive, yeah.
And from what I gather, they offer a whole range of services, not just basic web design.
That's right. They do everything from WordPress support to e-commerce solutions, even video production.
Wow, it's like a one-stop shop for any Australian business looking to get online.
It kind of is.
It makes you wonder, though, can one company really be an expert in all those areas?
That's a fair question.
It's like, is there a risk of spreading themselves too thin?
Yeah, that's always a concern. It's important to do your research and make sure any company you're considering has a proven track record.
So even though now Technology Systems seems like they know their stuff, we should still approach them with a critical eye.
Absolutely. Always do your due diligence, right?
Right, be a smart consumer. So we've explored this concept of custom post types. We've delved into the strategic thinking behind disabling Disqus comments. We even touched on the importance of choosing the right web design partner.
Yeah,
This has been a fascinating deep dive so far.
it has.
I'm really curious to see where we go from here.
Me too.
It seems like we've stumbled upon like a theme here.
Yeah.
This idea that less can be more, by strategically disabling certain features like comments in specific areas, we can actually make a website more effective.
That's a good point. It's almost like decluttering a physical space, right?
Oh, I like that.
Sometimes getting rid of unnecessary items can actually make a room feel more spacious and inviting.
Oh, yeah.
And in the same way, a website that's streamlined, really focused, can create a more positive experience for the user.
And speaking of positive user experiences, in the context of Australian businesses, that can have a real impact, right?
For sure. A well-designed website can be a really powerful tool
Yeah.
for attracting new customers, building brand loyalty, and even improving compliance with those Australian consumer protection regulations.
So it's not just about making a website look pretty.
No, not at all.
It's about making sure that it actually functions well and it meets the needs of that Australian market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where having a deep understanding of the Australian digital landscape is so important.
Yo.
Things like internet speed, mobile usage, even cultural preferences. All of that can influence how a website is designed and perceived.
It sounds like there's a lot more to it than just, picking a template and throwing some content up there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Creating a truly effective website, it requires a strategic approach.
Okay.
You really have to think about your target audience, your business goals, and, of course, the unique characteristics of the market that you're operating in.
And all of that seems to be stuff that now Technology Systems, with their focus on the Australian market, seems like they've got that down pat.
They really do. They have this really comprehensive understanding of the Australian digital landscape.
Okay, so going back to what you said earlier, this idea that less can be more, are there other areas of a website besides comments where we might apply that principle?
Oh, absolutely. Think about website navigation, for example.
Okay, the menu and how you move around the site.
Yeah. If you have a menu that's really cluttered
Yeah.
with too many options,
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming for users.
Yeah, you just get lost.
Exactly. So simplifying that navigation, making it super easy for people to find what they're looking for, that can really enhance their experience.
So it's not just about removing things, it's also about refining and optimizing the stuff that's left right.
Exactly. Making sure that every part of the website has a clear purpose
Yeah.
and that it contributes to that positive user experience.
Okay, so we've come full circle back to that article from Now Technology Systems. Their advice about disabling those Disqus comments on certain post types, it seems like a small tweak.
Yeah.
But when you look at it through the lens of, optimization and streamlining, it becomes part of this bigger strategy
It is, yeah.
of creating a website that really, truly works.
And I think it's a good reminder that every element of a website, no matter how small, can have an impact on the user experience.
Yeah, it's all connected.
And especially for Australian businesses, in that competitive landscape, those small details, they can make a big difference.
So we've talked about custom post types. We've gotten into that whole strategy behind disabling Disqus comments. We even touched on the importance of finding the right web design partner. I feel we're starting to get a real sense of how these seemingly technical decisions can have a significant impact on businesses,
They really can.
especially those that are doing business in Australia.
It is fascinating. It's like this intersection of technology and business strategy and even cultural understanding.
Wow. Yeah.
And it highlights how important it is to have a web design partner who can really navigate all of those complexities and create a website that actually aligns with the business's goals and the expectations of their market.
It's like having a translator almost. Someone who can bridge that gap between the technical world of website development and the real-world needs of a business operating in a specific market.
That's a great analogy. And it underscores the value of finding a web design partner who doesn't just understand the technical stuff,
Right.
but also has a deep understanding of the business landscape and the target audience.
So it's not just about finding somebody who can, write code and build a website from scratch.
Right.
It's about finding someone who can think strategically and translate those technical skills into real business results.
Exactly. Helping you leverage the power of the internet to achieve your business goals.
Now, that brings us back to Now Technology Systems.
Yeah.
They've clearly put a lot of thought into this whole idea of website optimization for Australian businesses.
They have.
What more can you tell us about them?
Well, Now Technology Systems is an Australian company. They specialize in providing this wide range of web solutions for businesses of all sizes.
Okay.
They've got a team of experienced professionals who are really passionate about helping businesses succeed online.
And they're really focused on that Australian market, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really important for businesses that are operating in that unique environment.
Definitely.
So what are some of the key services that they offer?
So in addition to website design and development, they also offer e-commerce solutions,
Yeah.
search engine optimization, SEO,
Right.
social media marketing, and even video production services.
Wow. So they really do cover all the bases. It's like they're, like you said before, a one-stop shop for any Australian business.
Yeah, it really is. They offer a really comprehensive suite of services.
But with so many services on offer, it makes you wonder, can they really excel in all of them?
Right.
Is it possible for one company to be a master of so many trades?
That's a valid point. It's always a good idea to do your research.
Yeah.
Make sure any company that you partner with has a proven track record in the specific services you need.
So even though Now Technology Systems looks impressive, on paper and all that, we still need to approach them with a little bit of skepticism.
Definitely. You should always be a discerning consumer.
Right, exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We started with this, simple topic, disabling Disqus comments, and we ended up exploring a whole range of issues: website optimization, user experience, the importance of human connection, and the unique challenges of doing business in Australia.
Yeah, it's amazing how all of these seemingly disparate topics are all interconnected.
They really are.
It just goes to show that every element of a website, even the small stuff, can have a big impact on the overall success of a business.
So it's a reminder that we really need to be thinking strategically about every decision that we make.
Yes.
When it comes to our online presence.
Absolutely. And I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about
It has.
as we all try to navigate this crazy world of digital marketing.
It really has. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've talked about the technical side of website design and optimization, but we can't forget about the human element.
That's true. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical details, but it's really all about connecting with people.
Right, building relationships.
Exactly.
And that's something that we should always keep in mind, right?
Absolutely.
As we're building and refining our online presence.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
It does.
But before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listeners with one last piece of advice. As you continue to build and refine your online presence, remember to be intentional, be mindful.
Yeah.
And always focus on creating a positive and engaging experience for your audience.
Wise words.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to seek out expert guidance, if you need it.
Right, absolutely. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, happy website building. It just hit me that this whole idea of human connection in the digital space, it kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
About streamlining and decluttering websites.
Mm-hmm.
It's like by removing those unnecessary distractions, we're actually allowing the human element to shine through more clearly.
That's a really good point. It's like we're clearing away all the noise so we can actually hear each other better,
Exactly.
A website that's really focused and easy to navigate, it lets visitors connect with the content and the people behind it in a much more meaningful way.
And that's something that now technology systems, they really seem to get.
Yeah.
Their approach to web design, it's not just about the technical stuff. They seem to understand that human element, that need to create a website that really resonates with people on an emotional level.
Yeah, and I think that's reflected in the range of services they offer. They get that a website isn't just code and graphics.
Right.
It's a reflection of a brand's personality, their values,
Oh, totally.
It's a platform for storytelling and engagement.
So it's not just about building a website, it's about crafting an experience. An experience that's tailored to the specific needs and the desires of your audience.
And that takes a lot of understanding.
Yeah.
You have to understand human psychology, marketing principles, the nuances of the Australian market.
So it sounds like now technology systems, they could be a really valuable partner for Australian businesses that are, looking to create a website that really reflects their unique identity.
For sure.
And connects with their audience on a deeper level.
Yeah, they seem to get what it takes to build a successful online presence in Australia.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We started with, this seemingly simple question about disabling Disqus comments on certain custom post types. And we ended up exploring this whole world of interconnected ideas.
We did.
Website optimization, user experience, the human connection, and the unique challenges of the Australian digital landscape.
It's been a fascinating journey. I think we've uncovered some really valuable insights along the way.
I agree. And I hope our listeners have found this deep dive informative and, maybe even thought-provoking.
I'm sure they have.
So as we wrap things up, I want to encourage our listeners to keep exploring these ideas, apply them to their own online endeavors.
And don't be afraid to reach out for help if you need it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There are experts out there who can help guide you.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, happy website building.
See you next time.